What's the weirdest favor a friend has ever asked you that went completely unexpected? My best friend Darlene squeezed my arm tight and squealed, "That's him! That's the hot guy I've been telling you about." I looked over to the direction she was staring at and spotted him immediately. I mean, to be fair, he was hard to miss. He was strikingly handsome with blue eyes and dark hair, and a cute dimple every time he smiled. It was no wonder she'd been talking about him nonstop for weeks. Darlene grinned at me. "So, could you do me a quick favor and ask him if he's single and maybe interested in me?" I blinked at her, confused. "Darlene, you're the most confident person I know. I've seen you walk over and ask strangers at an airport for their numbers. But you can't ask this guy?" She glanced over at him and nodded. "Yup, that's exactly it. So please, will you ask him?" "Fine," I answered. "Yay." "Okay, but remember to be casual about it," she said, fixing my hair like I was about to walk into battle. "Go over there, start a conversation, and then ask if he's interested." But it was hard. I mean, I'd watched Darlene dozens of times approach guys. But me? The only conversation I had with a guy was over homework. And this hot guy was on a completely different level. I rehearsed the line in my head about 5 times while I walked over slowly. "My friend thinks you're cute. Are you interested?" It sounded so stupid, but Darlene was counting on me. "Okay, casual conversation first. I got this. I totally got this," I thought. But when I tapped on his arm and his blue eyes met mine, I panicked and blurted it out. "Hey, you're cute. I mean, my friend thinks you're cute. She's over there. Right there. Are you interested in her, haha?" I wanted to hit myself. So much for the plan. The guy glanced over to where I was pointing and watched my friend put up a thumbs up. He laughed, then turned to me. "What about you?" he asked in a smooth voice. "Are you interested?" I blinked at him, thinking I maybe heard him wrong. "I'm sorry. I meant my friend. The cute girl over there with the curls and freckles and pink shirt." He smiled a little, attacking me with his dimples. "I know who you meant, but I'm asking about you. Are you interested?" I felt my brain short-circuit. This wasn't at all how I expected it to go. "I'm just the messenger," I told him awkwardly. He leaned his shoulder against the wall and tilted his head. "Does this messenger have a name?" Well, my friend's name is Darlene, and she really likes you. She's been talking about you for months." He nodded. "That's nice. And I've been watching you all night at this party, even before you came over here." "What? Why?" I gasped out. He grinned at my shocked expression. "Yeah, I watched you dancing. Maybe you thought no one would recognize it, but I knew those moves from a mile away. They're from the Just Dance series." "Oh my god, thank you. Finally, a man of culture." We sat there talking about old Wii games and video games for a moment until I remembered why I walked over in the first place. "So about Darlene. She's really funny and smart. She's actually in pre-med," I said, trying to redirect things again. But each time I did, he kept turning it back around to me. And for 20 minutes, we kept going back and forth, grinning at each other each time like the funniest game of cat and mouse. That's when Darlene texted me, asking for updates. "Look, I really need an answer for my friend. Are you interested in her or not?" "Well, do you want me to be interested in her?" he asked, leaning his face close to mine. I wanted to say no. This was the first time I actually enjoyed talking to a guy, and I just started to really like him. But I couldn't betray Darlene, so I told him quietly, "I think so." He sighed and looked at me with a serious expression. "I'm sure your friend is great, but I'm more interested in you. So here." He pulled out his phone and handed it over. "If you're sure, you can hand over my number to her." He texted me immediately. "If you change your mind, I'd like to take you out sometime." I walked back to Darlene feeling like the worst friend in the world. Darlene pulled me to the side and grinned. "So? How did it go?" I held her hands and frowned. "I'm so sorry, Darlene, but he said no." She shrugged. "Oh, that's fine. But did he ask you out? Did you say yes?" she asked excitedly. I stared back at her completely confused. "How did you even know about that?" She burst into laughter. "Okay, so don't get mad at me, but he's actually been asking about you for weeks. Like every time we had a study group or after class. Apparently he fell in love at first sight when he saw you feeding a stray cat on campus. How freaking cute. So of course I had to help him out, right? I knew if I sent you over there, he'd finally make a move." I couldn't believe what she was saying. All this time, I thought I was playing the wingman, when Darlene was the real wingman all along. "Wait, so you never liked him?" She shook her head. "He's cute and all, but not my type." I didn't know whether to hug her or yell at her for playing a cruel trick on me. I looked down at my phone, smiling at his text. That's when he appeared behind me. "On second thought," he looked Darlene right in the eyes, "I should probably thank you properly for being the best wingman ever." He grinned at both of us, and my face got so hot I thought I might actually catch fire. I glanced around the party and realized everyone nearby had stopped their conversations to watch us. Some girl I recognized from my biology class was literally staring with her mouth open. A group of guys near the kitchen counter were nudging each other and pointing. This was going to be all over campus by tomorrow morning. Darlene burst out laughing and pulled me into a side hug that almost knocked me off balance. She looked right at him and said she only helps people she actually likes, and she wouldn't have bothered with this whole setup if she didn't think we'd be perfect together. My heart was doing weird flips in my chest while she said this. The guy nodded and then turned to me with those stupid perfect dimples showing again. He asked if I wanted to get out of here and maybe walk around campus for a bit. I looked at Darlene to make sure this was really okay because I still felt weird about the whole thing. She practically shoved me toward him while making these big shooing motions with her hands, like I was a cat she was trying to get outside. We started walking toward the door and I heard someone whistle behind us. My face somehow got even hotter. We stepped outside into the cool night air and I took a deep breath. People were definitely going to talk about this tomorrow, and probably for the rest of the week. We walked down the path toward the quad and he asked if I was always this nervous, or if it was just because of the weird setup situation. I admitted that I basically never talk to guys unless it's about homework or group projects, and this whole thing felt completely crazy and not real. He laughed a little and said that actually made him feel better. I looked at him confused and he explained that he's really anxious in social situations too. That surprised me so much I stopped walking for a second. He seemed so smooth and confident back at the party. He said he's just practiced at making conversation, but his heart was racing the entire time we talked. He'd been so nervous about me rejecting him that he almost didn't say anything when I walked over. We kept walking and ended up near the library where there were these benches under the trees. We sat down and he pulled out his phone. He showed me the text he sent earlier asking me out. Then he asked if I actually wanted to go or if I felt pressured because Darlene set this whole thing up. I thought about lying or saying something casual, but I decided to just be honest. I told him I did want to go, but I also felt really guilty because I thought Darlene liked him first. He shook his head and explained that Darlene had approached him weeks ago to ask if he was interested in her friend. He said he immediately told her yes because he'd been trying to figure out how to talk to me for forever. I just stared at him trying to process this information. He pulled up his messages and showed me this whole conversation thread between him and Darlene. I started scrolling through and realized my best friend had been running like a full military operation behind my back. There were messages from 3 weeks ago where Darlene was literally coaching him on how to approach me. She'd told him what classes I had and where I usually studied. She'd given him advice about what to say and how to start a conversation. I started laughing because some of Darlene's suggestions were completely ridiculous. She'd told him to accidentally bump into me at the campus coffee shop and spill his drink so he'd have an excuse to talk to me. He admitted he'd tried that exact thing twice, but chickened out both times. The first time he got all the way to the coffee shop and saw me sitting there with my headphones on and just left. The second time he actually got in line behind me, but then panicked and pretended he got a phone call. I was laughing so hard I had tears in my eyes. He showed me another message where Darlene suggested he should ask to borrow a pencil in class. I told him that would never work because I always showed up to class with like 5 backup pencils. He said that's exactly what Darlene told him when he suggested it. We sat there talking for another hour about completely random stuff. He told me about his family and growing up with 2 older sisters. I told him about my weird obsession with feeding the campus cats. He said that's actually what made him first notice me, seeing me crouch down with food and talking to this orange cat like it was a person. It felt so easy and natural talking to him when I wasn't trying to set him up with someone else. The conversation just flowed without any awkward pauses or moments where I didn't know what to say. Eventually, he checked his phone and said it was getting pretty late. He walked me back toward my dorm building, and we went slowly like neither of us really wanted the night to end. When we got to my building, he asked if we could do coffee this weekend. Just the 2 of us without any wingman schemes or setups. I said yes, and he smiled so big his dimples showed again. He gave me this quick hug and then headed back across campus. I watched him walk away for a second before going inside. I dumped my bag on my bed and pulled out my phone with shaking hands. My thumb hovered over Darlene's contact for like 3 seconds before I hit call. She picked up after 2 rings, and I could hear bass thumping in the background along with people laughing and talking. She must have stepped outside because suddenly it got quieter, and she was asking me what happened and if I said yes to the date. I told her everything about how we talked for another hour after she left the party. I explained how he showed me all their text messages and how she'd been coaching him for weeks. Darlene laughed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. She admitted the whole thing took almost a month to plan because he kept asking about me in their study group. She said he would randomly bring me up in conversations or ask what classes I was taking. He'd ask if I had a boyfriend or what kind of stuff I liked to do. Darlene said she finally just told him she'd help because watching him try to work up courage was painful. I asked her point blank if she ever had any feelings for him at all. She swore she didn't and said he was cute but totally not her type. She told me she genuinely just wanted to help us both out because she could tell we'd be good together. I felt this huge weight lift off my chest hearing her say that. We talked for another 20 minutes before she said she needed to get back inside. I flopped onto my bed and stared at my phone screen for way too long before finally falling asleep. The next morning, I woke up to a notification and saw he'd sent me a meme about old Wii games. It showed Mario and Luigi with some caption about being gaming legends, and I actually laughed out loud. I took a screenshot and sent it to Darlene before I even responded to him. She texted back within minutes telling me I didn't need to run everything by her first. I explained that I wanted to be transparent about everything, so nobody felt weird or left out of the loop. She sent back a bunch of heart emojis and told me to just have fun and be myself. I spent probably 30 minutes trying to craft the perfect response to his meme. I typed out like 5 different messages and deleted every single one. They all sounded either too eager or too casual or just plain stupid. I finally gave up on words and just sent back a gif from Just Dance showing one of the characters doing a ridiculous move. He replied almost right away with 3 laughing emojis and asked if I wanted to get coffee on Saturday. My heart started racing as I typed back yes, and we agreed to meet at this small coffee shop near campus at noon. The rest of the week dragged by so slowly. I kept switching between feeling excited and completely scared. Tuesday, I was happy and confident. Wednesday, I convinced myself he'd change his mind. Thursday, I was back to being excited again. Friday, I was a nervous mess. Darlene came over Wednesday night and helped me pick out an outfit that looked cute, but not like I was trying too hard. She pulled out half my closet and made me try on different combinations. Friday night, I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone when Sunita from my biology class texted me. She asked if the rumors about me and Darlene's guy were actually true. I had no idea what she was talking about, so I asked her what rumors. She explained that people from the party had been talking all week about some potential love triangle situation. Apparently, people thought Darlene liked him, and I stole him from her or something equally dramatic. I immediately texted Darlene freaking out about what Sunita had told me. My phone rang like 2 seconds later, and it was Darlene calling to calm me down. She said people always gossip about party drama and make up stories that are way more interesting than reality. She told me it would all blow over once people saw we were still friends and everything was normal. I felt a little better after talking to her, but I barely slept that night. Saturday morning finally arrived, and I was so nervous I thought I might throw up. I changed my outfit 3 times before settling on just jeans and a sweater. The first outfit looked too dressy, like I was trying too hard. The second one was too casual, like I didn't care at all. The third one felt just right. Darlene texted me a whole pep talk about how he already liked me, so I just needed to relax and be myself. She reminded me that we'd already spent hours talking at the party, and it went great. I read her message like 5 times while I was getting ready. I brushed my teeth twice and checked my hair in the mirror about 100 times. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my bag and headed out the door toward the coffee shop. Shop was only 10 minutes from my dorm, but I walked super slowly because I was still freaking out. I kept checking my phone to see if he'd texted to cancel, but nothing came through. When I finally got to the coffee shop, he was already sitting at a table by the window, and he waved when he saw me walk up. I waved back and nearly tripped over the doorframe walking in. He stood up when I reached the table and did this awkward half-hug thing that made us both laugh. We ordered our drinks, and the barista gave us this knowing smile like she could tell it was a first date. I got a vanilla latte, and he got black coffee, which surprised me because it seemed too grown up. We sat back down at the corner table, and he asked about my classes. I told him about my communications professor who makes everyone do weird icebreaker games. He laughed and said his biology professor falls asleep during his own lectures. The conversation felt stilted at first because we were both clearly nervous, but then he brought up the stray cat I feed on campus. He admitted that's when he first noticed me, watching me crouch down with food and talk to the cat like it understood every word. My face got super hot, but he said it was the sweetest thing he'd ever seen. He told me he asked around until someone mentioned my name, then spent weeks trying to work up the courage to approach me. I asked why he didn't just come talk to me, and he said he's actually terrible at talking to girls despite seeming confident. He needed Darlene's help just like I needed her push to approach him at the party. We ended up staying at the coffee shop for 3 hours just talking about everything. He told me about growing up with 2 older sisters who taught him to respect women and never be pushy. I shared stories about my awkward middle school years when I had braces and terrible haircuts. When we finally left, he asked if he could hold my hand while we walked back toward campus. I said yes, and it felt natural and nice, not weird like I worried it might be. We ran into some people from the party near the student center, and I saw them notice us holding hands and whisper to each other. The guy didn't seem bothered at all, but I felt self-conscious about everyone watching. He walked me back to my dorm and asked if I wanted to do this again next weekend. I said yes, and he gave me a quick hug before leaving. I practically floated up the stairs to my room. Darlene showed up an hour later demanding every single detail, and I told her everything while she grinned like a proud parent. She made me promise to keep her updated, but also said I didn't need her permission to date him. Over the next week, we texted constantly about completely random stuff. Monday morning, he sent me a picture of an orange tabby cat sleeping on a bench with the caption, "Your friend says hi." I sent back a meme about Mario Kart, and he replied with 3 laughing emojis. Tuesday, he texted asking if I'd seen the new game trailer that dropped, and we spent an hour discussing whether it looked good or terrible. Wednesday morning, he sent a picture of his terrible attempt at making breakfast with the caption, "Send help." I replied with a gif of someone burning toast. Thursday, he asked what my favorite childhood show was, and we got into a debate about which Nickelodeon shows were actually good. Friday, he sent a picture of himself making a ridiculous face in the library, and I saved it to my phone. It felt easy and fun, not stressful or complicated like I expected dating to be. On Wednesday after my biology class, Sunita pulled me aside in the hallway. She glanced around like she was about to share some big secret, then told me people were still gossiping about the situation with Darlene. I asked what people were saying, and she explained that most people thought it was weird I was dating someone my best friend liked first. Some people were even saying I stole him from Darlene or that there was drama between us. I felt my stomach drop because I thought this had all blown over after the party. Sunita said the rumors had been going around all week in their friend group and other people's classes. I tried to explain that Darlene never actually liked him and was just helping set us up, but Sunita shook her head. She warned me that people will believe what they want to believe regardless of the truth. She suggested maybe posting something on social media to clear things up and show everyone that Darlene and I were still friends. I thanked her for telling me and headed straight to Darlene's dorm. She was studying for her pre-med exam, but put her textbook down when she saw my face. I explained everything Sunita had told me about the continued rumors. Darlene rolled her eyes and said we should just ignore them because trying to explain would only make us seem defensive. She pointed out that anyone who actually knows us would know the truth about what happened. She said people love drama and making up stories about love triangles, but it would blow over once something more interesting happened on campus. I felt a little better after talking to her, but still worried about what people were thinking. That night, the guy texted me asking if I was okay because he'd heard some rumors going around. I appreciated that he was checking in instead of just ignoring it. We ended up talking on the phone for over an hour about how annoying campus gossip can be. He said people had been asking him questions about whether Darlene was mad at him, or if there was drama between all of us. I told him about my conversation with Sunita and what she'd suggested about social media. He said maybe we should just be open about dating so people would stop making up stories and speculating. I agreed, but said I wanted to make sure Darlene was comfortable with us being public first. He thought that was really thoughtful and said that's one of the things he liked about me. We decided to meet up with Darlene on Friday to talk about everything together. Friday afternoon, the three of us met up for lunch at the campus dining hall. We grabbed our food and found a table in the corner away from other people. I started to explain the situation, but Darlene immediately cut me off. She said she was totally fine with us dating publicly, and people needed to get over their love triangle fantasies. She laughed and said the whole thing was ridiculous because she never even liked him that way. The guy thanked her for being so cool about everything and helping him out in the first place. Darlene grinned and said she only helps people she actually cares about, and she wouldn't have bothered if she didn't think we'd be perfect together. We decided to just act normal and let people think whatever they wanted because explaining would probably make things worse. After lunch, the guy pulled out his phone and took a picture of us at the coffee shop we'd gone to on our first date. He posted it on his social media with a caption about finally getting to know the girl who feeds campus cats. I felt nervous about it being so public, but also relieved that we weren't hiding anymore. Within an hour, Darlene had commented on the post with a bunch of heart emojis and a joke about her excellent matchmaking skills. Seeing her comment made me feel so much better, because it showed everyone that we were all still friends. Other people started commenting too, mostly positive stuff about how cute we looked together. I noticed the gossip died down pretty quickly after that because people could see there was no drama between us. The following week, I walked into my communications class and sat down in my usual spot. The professor announced we'd be doing a group project and started reading off the assigned teams. When she called my name, I grabbed my notebook and looked around to see who else was in my group. That's when I heard the guy's name called along with 3 other students I didn't know very well. My heart started beating faster because everyone in class knew we were dating now after his social media post. It felt slightly awkward walking over to the group table where he was already sitting. The other 3 students were already there, and they all gave us these knowing looks when I sat down next to him. Our group leader started talking about the assignment, and I pulled out my notebook to take notes. The guy sat across from me, and we both focused on what everyone was saying instead of each other. When it was my turn to share ideas, I talked directly to the whole group and didn't look at him any more than anyone else. He did the same thing when he presented his thoughts about the project timeline. We split up the work pretty evenly, and everyone seemed happy with their parts. The meeting lasted about 40 minutes, and we all agreed to meet again next week with our sections done. I packed up my stuff and started walking toward the door when one of the girls from our group caught up to me. She smiled and said we were really cute together, and it was nice to see a couple that could work together so well. I thanked her but felt my face get hot because I hadn't realized people were paying that much attention to how we acted. The guy was waiting outside the classroom, and we walked together toward the library. He asked if I felt weird working with him in front of other people, and I admitted it was a little strange knowing everyone was watching us. He said he felt the same way but thought we did a good job keeping things normal and professional. 3 days later, I met Darlene at our usual study spot in the corner of the campus cafe. She had her pre-med textbooks spread out everywhere and was highlighting something when I sat down. She looked up and asked how things were going with the guy and if I was enjoying the relationship. I told her it was really good, but sometimes I felt uncomfortable with how many people knew about us and had opinions. She stopped highlighting and looked at me seriously. She said people would always have something to say about everything, and the only thing that actually mattered was if I was happy. I thought about that for a minute and realized she was completely right. I had been worrying so much about what other students thought that I forgot to just enjoy being with someone I really liked. She went back to her textbook, and I opened my laptop to work on an essay that was due next week. We studied for 2 hours and ordered coffee refills 3 times before heading back to our dorms. Saturday morning, I woke up to a text from the guy asking if I was ready for our volunteer shift at the animal shelter. I had mentioned wanting to help there a few weeks ago and completely forgot about it until he reminded me. He said he signed us both up for a 2-hour afternoon shift and would pick me up at noon. I got dressed in old jeans and a t-shirt that I wouldn't mind getting dirty and met him outside my building. We walked to the shelter, which was only about 10 minutes from campus. The coordinator gave us a quick tour and explained what we'd be doing. She led us to the cat room first, and there were probably 15 cats just hanging out on different levels of climbing towers. I sat down on the floor, and immediately 3 cats came over to investigate. The guy sat next to me and started petting an orange tabby that jumped in his lap. He was so gentle with it and kept talking to the cat like it could understand him. He made up this whole story about the cat being a secret agent on an important mission, and I couldn't stop laughing. We spent about an hour in there playing with different cats and cleaning their areas. Then we moved to the dog section where we took 4 different dogs on short walks around the property. Each dog had such a different personality, and the guy kept making funny comments about what they were probably thinking. One dog kept stopping to smell literally everything, and he said the dog was clearly a food critic reviewing local restaurants. Another dog pulled really hard on the leash, and he joked that it was training for a marathon. I had so much fun just being silly with him and the animals. It felt easy and natural, and I wasn't worried about what anyone thought or if we looked cute together. On the walk back to campus, he got kind of quiet for a minute. Then he stopped walking and turned to face me. He said he really liked spending time with me and wanted to know if I'd be interested in making this relationship official. I didn't even have to think about my answer and told him yes right away. He smiled really big and grabbed my hand as we kept walking. We decided to go tell Darlene in person because she deserved to hear the news directly from us. We went straight to her dorm and knocked on her door. When she opened it and saw both of us standing there, she knew something was up. The guy told her we were officially together now, and she literally screamed so loud that people in the hallway turned to look. She pulled us both into a hug and kept saying she knew we'd be perfect for each other. I felt so lucky to have a friend who genuinely cared about my happiness, instead of being jealous or weird about the situation. We stayed and talked with her for about 30 minutes before heading out to grab dinner together. Over the next few weeks, everything just felt really comfortable and normal. We studied together at the library most weeknights, and I helped him with his English essays while he explained math concepts I didn't understand. We went on coffee dates every Tuesday and Thursday morning before our first classes. Every Saturday, we volunteered at the shelter together, and it became my favorite part of the week. Darlene joined us for group hangouts on Friday nights, and it never felt awkward or strange. Sometimes we'd all go to campus events together or just hang out watching movies in someone's dorm room. The 3 of us had this easy friendship where nobody felt left out or like a third wheel. I noticed that people on campus stopped gossiping about us after a while because there was no drama to talk about. We were just a normal couple doing normal relationship things, and our friend group stayed solid. One afternoon, Sunita stopped me after our biology lab. She said she wanted to tell me that she was really impressed with how we handled everything. She admitted that when she first heard the rumors about me and Darlene and the guy, she thought it would turn into this huge mess of drama. I told her that being honest with everyone and having good friends made everything so much easier than it could have been. She nodded and said more people should communicate like that instead of playing games or keeping secrets. We walked out of the science building together, and she asked if Darlene was really okay with everything. I pulled out my phone and showed her the group chat where Darlene was constantly sending memes about being the best matchmaker on campus. Sunita laughed and said that was pretty clear proof that there were no hard feelings. I felt grateful that even people who weren't super close friends could see that our situation worked, because we all actually cared about each other and talked things through. One Sunday afternoon, he suggested we do a video call with my parents, so they could meet him. I set up my laptop in my dorm room and called home, feeling weirdly nervous about the whole thing. My mom answered first and immediately started gushing about how handsome he was, which made me want to crawl under my desk. My dad joined the call a minute later, and the guy introduced himself really politely, shaking hands with the camera like a total dork. They talked about his major and his classes for a bit. Then my mom kept asking questions about how we met and how he treats me. He handled it perfectly, being respectful and funny without trying too hard. My dad perked up when video games came up somehow, and the 2 of them spent the next 20 minutes talking about different gaming systems and their favorite titles. I just sat there watching them bond over Mario Kart strategies and classic Zelda games. My mom kept smiling at me and mouthing things like, "I like him," when he wasn't looking. By the end of the call, my parents were basically planning our future together, which was embarrassing but also kind of sweet. After we hung up, he asked if that went okay, and I told him my dad never talks to anyone about video games that long unless he really likes them. The following weekend, his family drove up to visit campus, and I met them for lunch at a restaurant near the quad. His 2 sisters showed up first and immediately started teasing him about finally getting a girlfriend after years of being hopeless at dating. They told me stories about his awkward high school years and how he used to practice talking to girls in the mirror, which made him turn bright red. His parents arrived a few minutes later, and his mom hugged me like we'd known each other forever. His dad was quieter but really warm, asking me about my classes and what I wanted to do after graduation. We spent about 2 hours at lunch, and his sisters kept making jokes the whole time, but in a fun way that made me feel included rather than uncomfortable. His mom invited me to visit them over spring break and told me to call her anytime I needed anything. Walking back to campus afterward, he apologized for his sisters being so embarrassing, but I told him they were actually really funny, and I liked them. He seemed relieved and admitted he'd been nervous about me meeting his family because they can be a lot sometimes. A few weeks later, Darlene mentioned she'd started seeing someone new from her pre-med program. She seemed really excited about him, so I suggested we all go on a double date to this campus event that was happening on Friday night. The four of us met up at the student center and walked over together. Darlene's new boyfriend was nice and easy to talk to, and he clearly thought she was amazing, which made me happy for her. We spent the evening checking out different booths and activities, and it felt really natural hanging out as a group. Nobody felt left out or like a third wheel, and the conversation flowed easily between all of us. At one point, Darlene pulled me aside and whispered that she was glad we could all be friends without any weirdness. I agreed and told her I liked her new boyfriend and thought they were cute together. The night ended with all of us getting food from a campus food truck and sitting on the grass talking about random stuff until it got too cold. Walking back to the dorms later, I felt grateful that my relationship hadn't messed up my friendship with Darlene and that we could still have fun together like this. Our group project for communications class finally wrapped up the next week. We'd been working on this presentation for over a month, and the final day arrived faster than I expected. Our team met up an hour before class to practice one last time and make sure all our slides worked properly. During the actual presentation, the guy and I took turns speaking and handed off to each other smoothly without any awkwardness. We'd made a point of treating each other like teammates rather than a couple during all our meetings, and it paid off because nobody on our team felt uncomfortable. After all the presentations finished, our professor announced the grades and we got an A. Everyone high-fived, and our other group members thanked us for being so professional about working together despite dating. I felt proud that we'd managed to keep our relationship separate from the assignment and hadn't let it affect our work or make things weird for anyone else. As finals week approached and the semester started winding down, I found myself thinking about how much had changed since that party, where Darlene sent me over to talk to him. Back then, I could barely talk to guys without getting awkward and nervous, and I definitely never thought I'd end up in an actual relationship. But here I was, several months later, with a boyfriend who actually liked me for who I was. I felt more confident in general, not just with him but in other areas of my life too. I'd learned that taking risks on relationships could actually work out instead of ending in disaster like I'd always feared. Sitting in the library studying for my biology final, I looked over at him working on his own exam prep and felt this weird sense of contentment. Things weren't perfect, but they were really good, and I'd grown as a person through this whole experience. I'd stopped being so scared of putting myself out there and started believing that maybe I deserved good things happening to me. One afternoon while we were studying together, he mentioned that he was planning to stay on campus for the summer to take some extra classes. He asked if I'd thought about my summer plans yet, and I admitted I hadn't really decided. The idea of spending the whole summer apart from him sounded terrible, so I told him I'd been considering staying too. We looked up summer class options together and found several that fit both our schedules and degree requirements. I texted Darlene to ask what she was doing, and she said she was also staying to get ahead on her pre-med requirements. The three of us started making plans for summer adventures around our class schedules. We talked about exploring parts of the city we'd never been to, having regular movie nights, and maybe taking a weekend trip somewhere nearby. Knowing I'd have both him and Darlene around for the summer made the idea of staying on campus actually exciting instead of boring. Finals week finally ended, and we celebrated with a group dinner at Darlene's favorite Italian restaurant off campus. About 8 of us showed up, including Darlene's boyfriend and some other friends from our study groups. Everyone was in a good mood, relieved to be done with exams and ready for summer break. We ordered way too much food and spent hours just talking and laughing about the semester. Darlene stood up at one point and made a toast, thanking everyone for being such good friends and making this year so memorable. She looked right at me when she talked about how important it was to have people who support you and want you to be happy. I felt my eyes get a little watery because I knew how lucky I was to have friends like this. The whole table raised their glasses and we all cheered, probably annoying the other customers, but none of us cared. Looking around at everyone's faces, I felt this overwhelming sense of gratitude for these people in my life. After dinner ended, the guy and I started walking back toward campus together while most of the group headed in different directions. The night was warm, and there were still people out walking around even though it was getting late. We walked slowly, not really in a hurry to get back. He was quiet for a bit, then stopped walking and turned to face me. He told me he was falling in love with me, just said it straight out like that. I felt my brain freeze for a second because I hadn't expected him to say it right then. But I realized I felt the same way and told him so, the words coming out easier than I thought they would. We stood there on the sidewalk just smiling at each other like complete dorks, probably looking ridiculous to anyone passing by. He reached for my hand and we started walking again, both of us grinning too much to have a normal conversation. The rest of the walk back was quiet, but in a good way. Like we didn't need to fill the silence with talking. When we got to my dorm, he hugged me goodnight and I practically floated up the stairs to my room. Later that night, I texted Darlene to thank her again for being the best wingman and friend anyone could ask for. I told her that none of this would have happened if she hadn't pushed me to talk to him at that party. She responded almost immediately saying that she just gave us a push in the right direction, but we did all the hard work of actually building a real relationship. She said she was proud of me for taking the risk and putting myself out there even though it scared me. Reading her text made me tear up a little because she was right. She'd helped set things in motion, but everything that came after was because we both chose to be honest and vulnerable with each other. I thanked her again and told her I loved her, then finally put my phone down and got ready for bed. Looking back on everything now, I'm amazed at how a simple favor for a friend turned into something so meaningful and real. I've got an amazing boyfriend who likes me for exactly who I am, weird quirks and all. My best friend is still my best friend, and our relationship is stronger than ever because we communicate honestly with each other. I learned that sometimes the best things happen when you step outside your comfort zone and take risks even when you're terrified. Life's pretty great right now, and I feel happier than I have in a long time. Summer stretches out ahead of us, full of possibilities and adventures with people I care about. I can't wait to see what happens next with all of us together, making new memories and growing closer as friends. Sometimes I still can't believe this all started because Darlene asked me to talk to a cute guy at a party, and I'm so glad I said yes to helping her, even though it terrified me. Everything worked out better than I ever could have imagined, and I'm excited to see where things go from here. That's how it went down for me. But I want to know what you think. Would you have done the same thing? Or something totally different? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I always end up learning something new from you guys.